in this way of being the right and ripe condition for the best to unfold in our youth. Do you get that? This spiritual community has nurtured and nourished the what? The best in our youth and in ourselves. So give yourself some more love and appreciation for that. So today, just kind of summarizing the series a little bit and then getting us on to today's topic. And we've kind of had to adjust today's topic given recent events, but I think it's going to work. We have been saying in this series, for those of you who are just joining us and tuning in today, that we have a date with destiny, and our date with destiny happens when we get intentional about planting ourselves and not burying ourselves. Planting ourselves in the soil of life and not letting ourselves be buried in the dirt and the rubbish and the trash of life. Have you got it? Say with me, there's a difference between being buried and planted. Come on, there's a difference between being, come on, and we learn that to be planted means I intentionally place myself in the right and ripe environment for my highest good and greatest joy. I am intentional about my spiritual growth. Come on, say it with me. I am intentional about what? Come on, my spiritual growth. This is what Jesus was saying to his mother, who didn't understand him early on when he said, "Don't you know?" I said like this, Mama, don't you know I got my own business to take care of? I am serious about my spiritual growth. But essentially, this is what he is saying. And so you and I, when we allow ourselves to stay grounded in the reality that I am a spiritual being living in a spiritual world governed by spiritual laws, choosing to have a spiritual journey. Say, I'm on a spiritual journey that never stops. Come on, I'm on a spiritual journey that never stops. I'm not stepping off the path. Come on, I'm not stepping off the path. So when I'm operating with this high intention, then when circumstances and conditions and the storms of life show up, I don't let myself get buried by those conditions and circumstances. I learn to turn that dirt into soil. You get that? I don't let it bury me. I let it, come on, fertilize me. Come on. It's some stuff out there. And I refuse to be buried by the stuff of life. Did you hear what I said? Here's an acronym for you note takers in the house. Stuff. S-T-U-F-F. S-T-U-F-F. Some terrific, unhealed fears and failures. Some terrific, unhealed fears and failures. Whether those be within myself or within the society, stuff happens. And then my attitude, my positionality, my response to what happens determines if that stuff persists as stuff or if it turns into soil. If it defeats me or if it fertilizes me. Say with me, I shall have my Mayflowers. Come on, I shall. When we are intentional about it, we start to learn how to then use the stuff and not let the stuff use us. Not let ourselves become the next victim in an onslaught of drama and trauma in the world. Have you got it? So that I'm so quickly defeated that I can't get out of bed in the morning. Have you ever found yourself saying, what's the use then? Just what's the use? See, in that way, I have allowed my mind to be taken hostage by the world of effects. In other words, and this is where we're going today, I've allowed something of a weed to settle into my soil. Hello. See, you who are working toward the fulfillment of the dream, the desire, the goal, and the unlimited potential in you that wishes to see it fully expressed as May flowers, can not only pay attention to the sunshine and the rainbows. The scripture reminds us to watch as well as pray. What does it say? Come on. Watch as well as pray. I've got to watch. I've got to make sure that what I have set a positive and powerful intention for my life is being protected. The United Negro College Fund says a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Is that right? And how does the mind become wasted? It comes to the effect of waste, or it becomes wasteful when something that I did not plant there is growing there and it is choking up the germinating seed in my soul. Have you got it? I got to take my shoes off. Is that okay? They're a little slippery this morning. And I'm not ready to slip out here and happen to myself. All right. Okay, I can grip the ground now. That's all right. They are smelling good this morning. I just want you to know. I anointed them myself. Sidebar. Now, bring me back to where I was going, but I got to tell a little sidebar story. Yesterday, my children were out playing a street hockey game, and it was a championship. And as I watched the children run back and forth and working hard to win the game, I noticed something, and this thought came to mind. Sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. Lotioning legs of ashy children throughout Sacramento for generations. Just all the kids had just left home without any lotion. Yeah. All right, so I told you that was a sidebar that had nothing to do with the message here. They would have made a fortune yesterday, Johnson & Johnson. I'll just get all the kids twice. Just lotion them up. Okay. All right. We're not laughing at the children. It's really the parents that didn't check. All right, let's get back to it. So then now we mentioned that our consciousness can be hijacked by things that we did not intentionally plant. And so in order to make sure that we are not moving in a way where we are being sabotaged by life, we've got to not only nurture the seed, not only nurture the seed, we have to interrogate the weed. Let's look at what a weed is. Literally, when I started preparing for this and I looked it up, the first thing that popped up, California. I can't get a basic definition. You already know. A weed is a wild plant growing where it is not wanted and in competition with cultivated plants. A weed is a wild plant growing where it is not wanted. It is what? Come on. Not wanted, and it is in what? Competition with cultivated plants. I want you to think about that. And this is why a house divided against itself cannot stand. When I have thoughts that speak of plenty, but I've got a lack and limitation attitude, that weed growing up in my consciousness, when I am operating in this way where I am conflicted in my soul, the things that I say that I want are being dominated by the things that I do not want. Have you ever been there? Come on, get some confession this morning. I've been there. I've said it. I've done it. Yeah. Put it out there. Free your soul. You should feel better right now. Haven't you thought one way and acted the other? There was a birthday party this weekend filled with sugar. And you all know where I am on the sugar journey, don't you? But the children, who have no regard for my waistline, no regard for the longevity that I have in my intention with life, have a cupcake, Papa. Can't let the children down. But what was I doing? I was in conflict with one of my own commitments, right? So we must not only nurture the seed, interrogate the weed, question those things that appear like they are healthy and growing, but may very well be choking out the good that you're working on. Have you got it? Let's look at how the master teacher worked with this. This is really good stuff. The parable of the wheat and tares. Says another parable he put to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Do you want us to then go and gather them up? He said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. That sometimes the enemy, everybody say enemy, not a word we use a lot around here, so let me break it down for us New Thought people. The enemy, in-a-me, together the enemy, or the inner me, together the inner me, the part of me that allows itself to adopt erroneous thought, sometimes simply picked up by what Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, calls the race consciousness, the world mind. I am walking around, living life, minding my own business, and I'm picking up whatever is in the environment around me. Did you know that? That our subconscious mind is sticky. Say it with me, my subconscious mind is sticky. My subconscious mind is sticky. And because it's sticky, little seeds are flying all over the place, attaching themselves to that subconsciousness. The subconscious phase of our being is that part of our being that is the soil of consciousness. And in the soil, things that we have planted and not planted have found a home there. Now, here's what the master teacher is saying. I must first and foremost recognize when that is occurring within me. Have you ever picked up a bad habit? Huh? You don't know how it happened. You just know all of a sudden I'm snapping off every time I get a chance. Or all of a sudden I cannot be on time for anything. Or all of us, who knows what I'm talking about? Have you ever picked it up? Sometimes it is in the environment in which you have yourself placed. It's some of the norms. Have you ever lowered yourself to meet the standards of some mediocre things going on in the world? How many of you found yourself complaining about everything? Just have a complaint, a constant complaint about you're complaining. It is actually what is in vogue. But it is not for your highest good. It's not cultivating, it's not working with the plants that you're trying to cultivate in your character. Did you know that? But it is in vogue. Did you know it is in vogue to complain about world conditions when you get together? In fact, they're passing out cards to the Ain't It Awful Society. Talk to me today. So we all get together and we talk about how awful it is. Ain't it awful? Ain't it awful? Ain't it awful? And we haven't solved anything. We haven't had a prayer. We haven't come up with any principle to speak into the situation. But we won the competition on how well I can articulate how awful it is. Gave yourself a prize. And in so doing, watering weeds. Watering weeds. Now, here's the other thing. Sometimes, because of the conditions that we find ourselves in life, sometimes we're broken and don't know it. Sometimes there's a weed that has grown up in our soul consciousness as a part of who we are, that has not become apparent to us, and so we're operating in wrong thought, operating in wrong action, thinking that we're right. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been right about how wrong somebody else is? Because you were taught that. Maybe you're taught that in church. You're taught to hate certain type of people and to not care for certain type of people or certain kinds of ways of being in the world. Who knows what I'm talking about? Get them up, get them up, get them up. And you are operating with good intention, but you're wrong. And so the master teacher is saying then, give it a minute. Don't go right away. Don't go right away and pull up and attack the tear, the weed. Don't become violent toward it. Recognize that it's there. Allow it to become apparent. Have a realization. And then when the harvest is when it has become mature, when you have become mature in a thing, now we can see clearly, as the writer of the song Amazing Grace said. Do you know the writer of the song of Amazing Grace? This person who wrote that song was a slave trader. He was operating with some wrong thought. Whole world sings the song today, right? But he came into a greater awareness after it became clear that he had a weed in his garden. This was wrong. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. He was speaking of himself. He wasn't having you to call yourself a wretch, by the way. That's why we changed the word around here. I don't want you calling yourself a wretch. Point to yourself and say, I'm not a wretch. He was talking about himself. And he was talking about a self, a part of himself that he had come to realize was operating in a wretched way. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now was blind, but now have you got it? So I don't want you to attack yourself or others because they may be operating erroneously, because now you've created another victim, and inside of that there has been no learning, no growing, only the perpetuation of self-righteousness and hatred. Are you hearing me? Talk to me this morning. So the master teacher says, no. Let it all grow up. Let it become clear of what it is. Let one have his own awakening. This is why we're on this business here at Unity of Sacramento. To awaken you and I to our divine nature so that we may be a, come on, force for good in the world. Please, friends, I know the times we live in, especially now, the political times, the political climate that we live in, really has us on edge with folks that don't think and believe like us. But how are you cultivating a world that's different? By condemning them. That's hard to hear, Rev Cav. Now, don't get me wrong. I want folks arrested who are out there operating in violence. I want justice to be served for those communities who are at the effects of injustice. But there's a way in which to do it so that the society, the garden that we are planting, what we are seeking to build is sweeter and smells better than the method we use to get ourselves in the mess. Hello? Say with me, it's a God thing. Come on, it's a God thing. Say with me, it's a soul thing. So, if you notice, when you are too vigorous going after a weed, have you ever been too vigorous going after it? Had my kids out with me one day on a character building mission. The yard had become overgrown with uninvited guests. And so we went out to the yard to build some character, and we're going to pluck up the weeds, right? Now, I said to them, I need you to be careful and gentle with it. Some of them are prickly, so I gave them gloves, yes? And some of those things, remember, it talks about a weed being wild and untamed, yes? So sometimes those thoughts that we have to work out within ourselves, they are sticky. They have the potential to hurt us if I push too hard at it, or I'm not protecting myself as I go into this. Are you with me? I'm talking about those self-sabotaging thoughts. I'm talking about that old script that comes from what your father said or your mother didn't do or what you picked up along the way. Who knows what I'm talking about? When you go after them, you still have to go after them with wisdom, but also carefully, lest you hurt yourself. So I said, okay, everybody had gloves. We all had gloves. Now we're going to go out there. I said, I want you to grab it around the neck and get a good grip on it. I said, don't pull it too hard. Why? Who knows why? What, you just break off, huh? You break off the leaves, but guess what's still in the ground? Come on. You've still got the root in the ground. The leaf, or the negative habit, or the what's showing up in the outside, the effect of it in my life is merely half of the battle. This is just evidence to say you've got something going on in you that you get to root up. Huh? Is it anger? Is it irritability? Is it jealousy? Is it a spirit of revenge? There are folks who are still trying to get revenge on something that happened 200 years ago. And they schedule it in their, that's okay, I didn't get them this week, boy, but wait till next week. Years pass, and we keep that calendar. And so what is rooting in consciousness in us? A spirit of revenge. Or a spirit of fear. So I want you all to go down. I want you to go down, and I want you to just get a good grip on it. Feel it. Get a feel of it. And then I want you to just, when you get it right, just gently pull it up. Nothing's more satisfying, by the way, Who knows what I'm talking about? Has anybody ever done it? Nothing's more satisfying than to hear it be torn up from the earth. Just, you know that feel? So I had some crying kids. I can't get over this. I'm trying to do this. You went too fast. You're trying to race. As we are trying to change what has been deeply rooted in our consciousness, remember this. You did not build this wrong idea overnight, and you are not going to heal this idea overnight. Hello? So be patient with yourself. Say, I choose to be patient with me. I am a work in progress. Say, I am worth the wait. Come on, tell somebody nearby just in case they didn't know it. Say, I'm worth the wait. Now you tell them, you're worth the wait. Go ahead, you're worth the wait. Does that make sense? So I want to get down there. I want to be gentle. I don't want to try and do it overnight, try to fix everything about myself overnight, try to cure it all overnight. You know, those that go in with that kind of anxious and desperate consciousness never get there because simultaneously they're sowing seeds of anxiety, sowing seeds of impatience. So in unity we talk about denials and affirmations. So when we are going to pull something up that's rooted in our consciousness, we are working with a denial. We're denying it to have power over us any longer. We've identified it. Say, I identify it. Come on, I identify it. And now I deny it have any authority over me. Come on, say jealousy. You have no authority over me. Envy, come on, you have no authority over me. Impatience, you have no authority over me. Greed, come on, you have no, come on, I uproot you. Have you got it? Come on, sadness, come on, let's keep it going for a minute. Sadness, you have no, come on, authority over me. We are withdrawing its power to affect my Mayflowers. Say, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming, they're coming. So I must both plant good seed, but I also must uproot wrong weed. And this is how often? How often? How often? It's a forever process. Oh, Jesus, how often shall we forgive? 7 times? Then I can get them? How often shall I forgive? How often shall I allow this to occur in my experience without letting it consume my reaction? How often shall we forgive, Master? And now, don't get me wrong, forgiveness is not social irresponsibility. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not putting yourself back in harm's way or putting others back in harm's way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we're forgiving, we are withdrawing its power to affect, listen to me, to affect the optimism that I have about my future, to affect the optimism and the sweetness that I have in my spirit, to affect the outcome of what my life and my world and my affairs are going to be about. I'm not letting you come up here and wreck shop in my life and my world and my affairs. You're not that significant to me. Did you hear what I said? I'm not letting that happen and rule in my life. And I choose to be free and happy and joyful and abundant and effective in the world in which I live. I'm not a happy host for mediocrity. I'm not a happy host for your attacks on me. In fact, what you think about me, come on, say it with me, what you think about me. What you think about me? Come on, say it. What you think about me? What you think about me is none of my spiritual business. Go get you some business. I'm about my Father's business. Go get you some business. I'm about the business of loving. I'm about the business of caring. I'm about the business of transforming myself to be a greater agent of the world that I am building. Go get you some business. I love it when they come up to me and ask me, do I remember? No, I don't even remember your name. I let that go a long time ago because I've got God's business to tend to. I've got God's garden to build. I've got something greater in mind than your offense. I'm not walking around collecting an offering of offense. No, I'm free to experience the love that God is right here and right now. I am an avenue of that love. I'm a candidate for greater love. I'm a candidate for what God wants to do in the world. That's what I'm up to. And therefore, I am free and unbound, and shall receive my bouquet of flowers in my season. And so it is written, and so I have spoken it, and so you have heard it, and so it is. Amen and amen. God bless you, everyone.